now at 560theanswer.com.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning, Carol Roth. She a recovering investment banker, a podcaster, The Roth Effect, a frequent guest on Fox and Fox Business. And Carol, you familiar with this guy, Mark Cuban? You probably know him from Sharknado 3. He played the president. He's a bit of an actor.
Yes, I know, just a little bit aware of him.
He also
He's a very under the radar guy. He's not the kind of guy who likes to
Yes.
draw a lot of attention to himself. But despite the fact that he tries to keep the shield around him, I do have some familiarity. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's coming to Judson University, a friend of the show. Judson University welcoming tech entrepreneur, Mavericks owner, Shark Tank investor Mark Cuban to campus for a special event Thursday, May 16th at lunchtime, 12:30 p.m. Conversations with Mark Vargas, who is a Judson University graduate, is a new addition to Judson University's World Leaders Forum. There is a few remaining VIP meet and greet tickets with Mark Cuban at Judson University. Ann Coulter hasn't snapped them all up yet. Get your event tickets now at judsonu.edu. That's judsonu.edu, and we're pleased to be joined now by Mark Vargas. Mark, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Carol. Thanks for having me on.
So does this count as a conversation with Mark Vargas for the purposes of Judson University? Mark Cuban, why Mark Cuban for your inaugural conversation at Judson?
Yeah, no, great question. And, Mark and I have become really close friends over the last couple of years. And when Dr. Kroom presented this opportunity about, why not put together a Conversations with Mark Vargas speaker series at Judson, I couldn't think of a better person to really help me launch this new speaker series. So I reached out to Mark and I said, how in the heck does the son of a truck driver grow up and have friends like Mark Cuban? And I said, I'm going to be launching this brand new speaker series, and it's going to be an intimate one-on-one conversation where we're going to talk about life, business, politics, inspiring stories, and more. And I said, Mark, I would be honored if you would be my first guest. And he immediately responded and said, I'm in. Let's do it in May.
Can you do me a favor and require that he wear a collared shirt like an adult to the event?
That's right. Yeah, and he's spoken so much about how he doesn't like anyone that wears suits. So clearly, on May 16th, you won't find me wearing a suit.
It's amazing. I love the fact that you mentioned that you're the son of a truck driver, and this whole conversation that Dan and I have been having this morning about upward mobility. What is it in terms of this conversation that you want the audience to walk away with? Is it a message of economic mobility? Is it a message of, this is America where there's capitalism and anything can happen? What's your point of view going into it?
That's a great question. And, Mark has an inspiring story. He very blue collar upbringing in Pittsburgh. He sold garbage bags door to door when he was 14. So he's always had that entrepreneurial spirit. But, Mark is really just a normal guy. He doesn't travel around with bodyguards. If he meets you, whenever we meet for breakfast or lunch, he just pops up by himself. And so even though he's got this oversized personality, he really is a normal guy. But the difference with this Conversations new series is that unlike any other series, a speaker, you're working through a speaker's bureau, they're giving prepared remarks. Every guest that I invite, and they'll be the most recognizable names in business and politics and media, they're all going to be personal friends of mine. So I'm going to be reaching into my own personal Rolodex. And so the audience is going to be able to really see the camaraderie and the level of comfort between my guest and I, because
that's great.
We'll be friends.
Well, that's great. Then you can ask him in a very friendly way how he thinks J.J. Barea and Tim Hardaway are going to be enough to make the Dallas Mavericks competitive in the West, because that's a joke. What the hell's going on with the Mavericks, Cuban? That'd be my first question.
This was a tough season, and saying goodbye to the Dirk. A lot of people don't realize it's really difficult to get Mark to come out to an event. His schedule is the NBA season for Mark really starts in August, and then he takes about 3 weeks off every September to go to LA to film Shark Tank, and then October through April is all NBA preseason, season, postseason, and then in June and July he really takes time off.
Yeah.
He really takes time to spend time with his kids. So May is the only time to really get him to come out, and so I'm really excited that he's flying out just for this event from Dallas.
So, Mark, given the fact that you guys are so close, are you surprised that he didn't toss his name into the ring politically to run for president? Because it hasn't stopped anybody else from doing so, and I know that he's expressed some interest in politics in the past. So, what's the inside scoop on that?
Well, we've talked about this a lot, the two of us, and it's actually going to be one of the questions that I'm going to ask Mark during this series.
Oh, it could be an announcement. Could be an announcement on May 16th.
You never know. But it's more than just why do you want to run for president? What would be your top items, your key policy issues? And where was that switch from being an entrepreneur, investor, Sharp Shark Tank to then wanting to dip into presidential politics? So it's certainly going to be a question that we'll address during the speaker series.
Yeah, I'd also like to ask him too. Shark Tank, he's a capitalist, billionaire, NBA team owner. What's with you and your friends on the left who don't believe in theory what they do in practice? In practice, you're a capitalist. In theory, you're a Democrat capitalist, whatever that is. You're a Democrat socialist, whatever that is. You're a government-centric thinker politically, but that's not how you live your life. Explain the dichotomy.
Well, you know what, Dan, I will keep that in mind, and
sure.
I'll say Dan Proft.
Please do.
Has a couple of questions for you.
Please do.
And
Skype me in.
And I hope you'll be there for that, Dan.
I am. I'm going to be disruptive, and then I'm going to be dragged out of Judson University.
You're going to be heckling in the audience, Dan.
He really is a middle of the road kind of guy. You don't see Mark actually really come out. I mean, he did come out for Hillary Clinton, but you don't see him during the 2016 election, but he really is a middle of the road kind of guy in terms of, some issues he tends to lean more Democratic, others Republican, but he certainly is a fiscal conservative. And this is no secret, if he were to run for president, he'd run as a Republican. He's talked about that publicly. So, it would be interesting to see, sort of what a Mark Cuban presidential administration would look like, whether it's in 2020 or 2024.
All right.
Only Mark knows that answer.
All right, and we're going to get the answer on 2020 on May 16th when Mark Cuban makes his way to Judson University. Mark Cuban will sit down with Mark Vargas, our guest. Conversation with Mark Vargas, which is a new addition to Judson University's World Leaders Forum, which is a great speakers program. I've emceed several of the events, including last year, the debate between Newt Gingrich and Howard Dean. Great programming, good audience, good questions. It's Judson University always puts on a good event. And again, there's a few remaining VIP meet and greet tickets for the Mark Cuban event at Judson on May 16th, 12:30 p.m. Go to judsonu.edu. That's judsonu.edu. Mark Vargas, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck with the event. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. And every penny is going towards diversity and entrepreneurship scholarships. So this is very important.
Okay. Good to note that. Thank you, Mark Vargas, who joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
You've made the switch, and it feels so good. You've switched to Chicago's